This is the 14th installment to the series entitled Build Your Business into an Asset of Value. To be independent is the business of a few only. It is the privilege of the strong. One of the great ironies is that a business is most attractive to financiers when it least needs funding. Your job is to limit your business's dependence on external sources of funding by doing the following: consistently generating and growing sales revenues, ensuring that your business can fund operational expenses from cash flow, and by building an asset base of fixed assets. Failing to do so makes your business vulnerable. You will struggle to secure external funding, and if you do find a financier willing to extend debt finance, the loan will be subject to high interest rates and unfavorable terms. A sales generating machine. In the early stages of developing a business, successful entrepreneurs devote most of their time to selling, and this is exactly what you need to do. No one understands and values your product more than you. No one is more committed to the project than you. Breaking down those first doors, establishing a presence in the market is your responsibility. And since the viability of the business depends on consistently generating sales, it is natural for the business owner to want to maintain his involvement in this area. But there comes a point in the development of the business when the sales capacity of the business must be expanded. The business cannot continue to be dependent on sales generated by the business owner alone. I find it astonishing to see how easily entrepreneurs appoint junior people with limited skills and experience to sales roles. This is a huge mistake. Think for a moment. What did it take for you to win those first deals? Tenacity, skill, and an absolute belief in your product or service. You must appoint salespeople who embody those same characteristics. Salespeople should be the best paid people in your business, and you ought to invest much effort to recruit, develop, and retain high-quality sales professionals for your business by implementing a remuneration model that drives the right behaviors and rewards the desired outcomes. To develop your business into a sales-generating machine, you need the right people. But to get the most out of your sales team, you must develop and integrate your business's sales process with the rest of the business processes. In Chapter 6, the cost side, I addressed the business's core and ancillary processes made up of individual tasks or activities. The sales function should be seen as a core business process, and the business manager should therefore implement systems to manage sales activities. Listen carefully. You cannot manage sales outcomes. You reward sales outcomes, but you can and must manage, that is, drive sales activities. Every truly successful business develops a standard sales process with clearly defined sales activities implemented across the organization. Everybody in the organization is part of sales, directly as salespeople or indirectly, since everyone's future depends on sales success. As business owner, you made those first sales. You know what it takes to close a deal. Use your experience to map out the sales process. How many prospective customers did you identify? How many prospects did you contact to secure a single sales meeting? How many meetings materialized? How many sales pitches did you deliver to close a single deal? By mapping out your sales process, you will come to understand what skills do salespeople need to be successful in your business. What activities need to be performed for your business to make its sales targets? And how many salespeople does your business need to achieve your sales goals? A sales process resembles a funnel made up of activities. Firstly, prospecting. In Chapter 5, Customer Segmentation, I introduced the concept of the business's relevant market, a market of prospective customers that represents a financially viable opportunity, and a market that the business can access given its limited resources. Your salespeople must be zoned in on the relevant market of prospective customers. You need to develop a set of qualifying criteria that salespeople can use to qualify customers from suspects to prospects. For example, a delivery business may have identified a relevant market of commercial customers to provide services to and develop the following qualifying criteria. Incorporated businesses with no less than 3 years being in existence, operating within a 100-kilometer radius, and requiring delivery services valued at a minimum of 1,000 Rand per transaction. Using your experiences of selling in the past, set activity goals of how many qualified prospects your salespeople must identify every week. Incidentally, I like using weekly goals rather than daily or monthly goals. A day is too short to fit all the activities, and a month too long to maintain a sense of urgency. The next activity is contacting. How do you get into contact with your customers? By telephone call, cold call, email, or some other method? Using your experiences of selling in the past, set activity goals of how many contacts your salespeople must make every week. The third activity is presenting. It is so important that a business maintains consistency in terms of the messaging that goes out to customers. Great sales organizations develop customized and up-to-date sales presentations and marketing material for their sales team. It is essential that salespeople develop their presentation skills. Using your experiences of selling in the past, set activity goals of how many presentations your salespeople must deliver every week. The last activity is closing. Closing deals is what it's all about, but closing is an art and often depends on the skill of the salesperson to overcome customer objections. Based on your experience of the past, what are the common objections customers make? It's too expensive. We don't have budget. Our vendor has been so reliable. How did you overcome these objections in the past? Using your experience of selling in the past, set activity goals of how many closes you expect from salespeople every week. Investors, understand that for most small businesses, sales are a result of personal relationships built over many years. Although a loyal customer base is admirable, investors understand that no business ever owns a customer relationship. Often, those customer relationships fade when the owner of the business exits. Long-standing customers are under no obligation to continue the relationship with the business. To successfully sell your business to investors, you must demonstrate how you have developed your sales team and cemented customer relationships with the business itself. The business must be able to generate sales independently of the owner. Lean and mean. A business must become operationally and financially independent of its owner. The first way to demonstrate this independence is to show that the business can fund operational expenses from cash flow. Operational expenses consist of cost of sales and overheads. Cost of sales include expenses directly related to sales, including cost of inventory, trade finance costs, procurement-related expenses, and insurance costs. Although a business may want to reduce its dependence on external funding, it is perfectly acceptable that a business uses trade finance to fund the cost of sales. Trade finance related expenses can be directly related to generating sales revenue. The business only incurs this type of expense as it relates to generating gross profits. Overheads are a different matter altogether, since the business must pay for these expenses irrespective of making sales. The business owner must expend every effort to limit fixed expenses, to make the business as lean as possible. Two possible strategies may be considered. Remuneration. Salaries need not be an entirely fixed expense. Earlier, I mentioned that as a business owner, you cannot manage sales outcomes. You reward sales outcomes, but you can and must manage, that is, drive sales activities. Reward sales outcomes by structuring the remuneration of salespeople to consist of a reasonable basic salary plus a sales bonus or incentive directly related to sales performance. But the rest of the staff can and should also be incentivized to contribute to the financial success of the business. Bonuses for all staff should be dependent on the business achieving its financial objectives. Structure remuneration in such a way that as much as possible are directly related to the financial performance of the business. The next strategy is outsourcing. As far as possible, a business should outsource ancillary processes. I recently worked with a business that produces ice cream. One of its ancillary processes is to deliver its produce to customers. The business does a roaring trade during the warm summer months, but suffers substantial declines of sales revenues during colder months. It does not make sense for the business to invest in expanding its fleet of delivery vehicles to meet demand limited to a few warm months. Expanding the fleet will contribute to fixed expenses, that is overheads, in the form of finance costs, maintenance, and insurance. It makes much more sense to employ the services of a delivery company where expenses can be limited and integrated into cost of sales. Other areas to consider for outsourcing include bookkeeping, marketing, IT support, and office maintenance or cleaning. Collateral. Financiers and investors alike treat a business that owns and operates from its own premises with much more respect. Unfair? Perhaps, but the perception of external funders is that a business with assets has better financial prospects. Later in this series, I address commercial property finance in detail. Suffice to say that for many businesses, it makes more sense to acquire its own commercial property and by doing so, reduce its dependence on a landlord. In conclusion, as a business owner, you want to engage with financiers from a position of strength, which is very much a function of how independently the business can operate. You prove your business's independence by developing your business into a sales-generating machine, running your business lean and building an asset base of fixed assets. Thank you for watching. To access the full series, visit Constructum Online Learning on YouTube or click on the link in the post.